Redline Logbook here for Chapter 20 of Wistoria. And we start where we left off with Thawne attacking the evil Duke with his massive spell at close range, but it had no effect. The Duke just knocked Thawne away. Like the last chapter said, everyone else is already exhausted, so only Thawne and Will can still fight, and even what they were doing, they couldn't defeat it. All Will could do was cut off its wing, and all Thawne could do was burn it a little. Basically, everyone's lost all hope. That's when a crystal just randomly appears in front of Will. Will picks it up, and he basically has some visions. And apparently the one who gave him this crystal was Losty, because he's there somehow. He was able to get there faster than the teachers were when they were flying on dragons, so he probably has some kind of teleporter magic or whatever. But he basically dropped that crystal in front of Will so he'd pick it up to give him these flashbacks. Up to this point, I thought Losty was connected to the tower and was trying to recruit Will, but nope, it's something altogether different. So the visions that the crystal shows to Will are three in nature. It starts off with saying it's wand and sword, and the first vision is a girl smashed against a wall. I'm assuming it's Elfie because of the fact that it just looks like Elfie. But this wouldn't be a vision of the past then, this would be a vision of the future because it legitimately looks like Elfie's been killed. The second vision was definitely of the past because it's of Elfie as a little girl. She seems to be injured and looking at something, so she's probably being attacked. And this is probably the moment that Elfie became known as a great mage. And finally, the third vision is a lot more clear. It's a woman holding a baby and a man in a cloak that you can't see his face. You'll see him at the end of the chapter, though. We don't get to know the woman's name. The man says it, but it's blacked out purposefully. And she basically says it has to be this way. It has to be wand and sword. This is all to protect the world. This is most likely, one, Will's mother, and two, the founding mage of the world, the one who is credited as the founder, even before the Magi Wanda. The vision ends and Will is back in the real world, and as you can imagine, the only thought going through his mind is wand and sword, because he then realizes what he needs to do at that point. He rushes forward and he screams to Thawne, magic. It's both wand and sword. And Thawne somehow just knows what to do. It's like it just clicked in his head as well. So Thawne activates his magic, fires it at Will, and they basically combine Will's sword with Thawne's magic, creating a magical sword, a flaming magical sword. While this is happening, this causes Will's mind to go a little hazy, I guess, where he's still conscious and he's still in control, but it's kind of like he's also partially on autopilot. Will charges the Duke once again. The Duke fires its multi-laser, but of course, Will knows this attack, so he's able to dodge it easily. He's able to finally get in close one last time, and with a single swing of his sword, he completely obliterates the Duke. Everyone else is actually in stunned silence for a moment, witnessing what just happened. That's when Clarinette finally starts talking and congratulates Will for killing the Duke, and before Will can actually respond and also be happy of the fact that he just won, they hear a bunch of endless roars surrounding them. Yeah, so the death cries of the Duke ended up summoning all of the evil sentinels, and none of them have the strength to keep fighting. Both Walkner and Edward are very close. They are just speeding close on their dragon. They can see what's happening in their orb, and they realize that these kids are about to die. And Edward is getting worried. He's yelling at Walkner to go faster, but there's nothing he can do. The dragon is already going at top speed. Julius ends up being the closest one to the monsters, and he actually gets attacked first. And all he can do is just scream and wait to die. And right before he goes splat, all of a sudden a shining bright light vaporizes all the evil sentinels. Walkner and Edward finally make it. They land next to the kids, and that is when everyone is in stunned silence when the king appears. Standing above them in the cliff, the one who saved all of the kids from the monsters, is the Magi Wanda of the Light, Aron, king of everyone in the tower, and the strongest wand of all. He then declares that he bestowed the blessing of light upon those who fought against the darkness of the dungeon, and he congratulates all the kids for surviving. And at that moment, every single one of them basically started to go nuts. Either broke down crying like Julius, or just started screaming in celebration by the fact that they survived. After that, all the kids and the two teachers then bow their head to their king, except for Will, who is focused on the supporter that is currently holding a giant bag for the king. Expedition Party. It's the man from the flashback, which means this dude is old, like centuries old. He smiles and says to himself, so the boy of sword survived. Alright. He then walks over to Will and introduces himself. His name is Finn, because of course it is. If you're wondering why I said that, is because Finn is the captain of the Loki Familia in Danmachi. This story and Danmachi have the same author. So yeah, the baby in the flashback was in fact Will. And he's now, once again, interacting with the man who was in that said flashback. Unfortunately for Will, he just doesn't know it. That's when we jump over to the two evil guys, and they got the item that they were looking for. It's a sword made of flesh. A flesh sword. Isn't that fun? Honestly, to God, if you said this was Reeves' sword, I would say yes it is. You're correct. Another character from Danmachi, don't worry about it. But the point is, now the two have the sword, they then say it's time for them to celebrate by spreading hell. So I don't think the plan is to spread hell. I think that's just the way that these two like to celebrate a victory, like murdering people. Isn't that nice? Everyone needs their hobby, I guess. Even psychopaths. Alright, so then we have a little time skip to the surface where everyone has been rescued, all the kids are safe. Unfortunately, several teachers were killed. A total of 11 of them were. So we end up seeing the funerals for these professors, but time marches on and we have to continue forward. And so, it is time for the final exams. That's right, Will's last chance to earn enough credits to graduate. He probably had a chance at the exhibition, didn't go bust, but it did, so he didn't get any credits for that. So now his only hope is this final exam at the end. And Will needs to earn 1,383 credits to graduate. Will has been in school for 6 years and he has just under 6,000 credits. So the idea that he can earn over 1,300 in one exam is absurd. Well, series of exams is absurd, which means something has to happen for Will to graduate, because he's going to graduate. He's the main character, which means he'll most likely be recruited by someone. Whoever that is, I don't know, but he will be sponsored to go into the tower, because I cannot see him getting in through the credit system. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, give a thumbs up so you enjoy more Wistoria and other things. Thank you, and have a great day.